Hello everyone. Can you hear me fine? Well, we should be live right now. If you are hearing me, welcome. This is one of our Magoosh dropping live classes, and today we'll be focusing on creating. Whoops. Okay. Excuse me for the technical difficulties. But yes, today we're going to talk about how to create your own GMAT study schedule. So today we want to have mostly an interactive session. So it's not just me talking, but also so you can get something out of it that can give you a path, a specific set of guidelines so you can start studying for your GMAT and hopefully get the score that you are looking for. Okay, so what can we expect for today? Well, actually, before, let me do a quick introduction because it's a lot better to know who you're talking to than just a random stranger on the internet. Hi, everyone. My name is Ariadne, and I am a live instructor and content creator here at Magoosh. A little bit more about me is that I like going to museums. I like traveling to see friends and traveling with friends to just check out new places, new food, new cultures. And I'm currently working on this personal project of teaching the TikTok algorithm to only show me cat videos. If you use TikTok, you know how the For You page will just show you random videos every once in a while. Well, I want them to just be cat videos. Why? Because I do have a cat and she lives with me here in Washington, D.C. And I live with my best friend, Mel, and again, yes, my 4-year-old cat. Okay, enough about me. Now, time for what you guys are here for. GMAT. Okay, so who is this class for primarily? Well, this class is designed to help students establish a guide for their studies in preparation for the GMAT. So this class will be especially helpful for those who haven't started studying yet or those that are early in their study prep. So if you already started working or you're kind of thinking about business school, you kind of want to go, but then you're not sure about taking the GMAT. You are a working professional. You don't know if you have the time. Maybe you've studied a little bit here and there for a couple of weeks and then you stopped and you forgot about this. Well, sometimes not having a good enough study schedule is enough to get us off track of our goals. So hopefully after this very quick session, you can have some solid plan to work through, and that can also give you motivation to get the materials to sign up for the exam. So you can, if you're still on the fence about business school, at least you have preparation for the GMAT, take the GMAT, and then take it from there. See if your score is what you want it to be in order to go to the school if you're choosing. Or if maybe you know that you don't have the time to commit to the study schedule, maybe not this year, maybe you have a big project going on, whatever it is that you have going on, having a score gives you a good way to measure whether right now this year is a good time, or maybe you want to delay it until next year, but you already know what to expect, you know how to prepare, and you can go into the whole process a lot more confident. Okay. And just a note, I can read the chat. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to drop in or leave those in the chat. If I don't respond to them right away, it's because I am in the flow of whatever the slide is saying. But I will make sure to go check chat every once in a while and answer your questions. Talking about chat. Okay. Also, I want to help you. I don't want this to be one of those boring extra live classes where you just hear a person talking and talking and talking and writing on the board for hours on end. I want this to be actually helpful for you. So what we're going to do is that the first half of this hour, it might be just a little short on the hour. We'll see. This is all estimation, but it will be less than an hour for sure. So the first half, we're going to talk about what I call quote unquote theory. And it's just going over the pointers, the materials, things that you should keep in mind before you actually sit down and create your study schedule. And the second half will be quote unquote practice. But the practice here is just applying everything that we're learning at the same time. So, what do I mean by this? I'm going to actually go show you a calendar, and then I'm going to ask you some questions, and then you tell me I work these many hours during the week. And we can do kind of a mock, not a mock, but we can do a study schedule personalized specifically to you. So, of course, depending on how many people view this lesson, I might be able to help everyone. I might be able to just help half. It depends. It all depends. But what I want to do is give priority to the students who are joining early, like here, Mohammed, Melissa, Stephen. Hi, I do see your comments, and thank you for checking in from Kenya, Pakistan, Lima. I personally am from Venezuela. So it's super cool that we get to, have a little international community here with the same goal. So, okay, going back to what I was saying, I will give priority to the students who have stayed the longest in the live stream. Or if you just happen to join later, don't worry. Just show me that you are interested and that you're investing in this lesson by commenting, by asking questions, by saying, oh, that's a good tip. It doesn't matter really that you don't have to come up with really deep things to say, but just make sure that there's no way for me to know who is viewing this live stream or not besides the comment section, because the numbers could be changing. Like somebody might leave the live stream and then somebody else comes in, and then it shows me the same amount of people watching the live stream, So just to keep track of people and who I will call in order to create their schedule, I will take that into consideration. So please comment if you will want me to help you. Okay, let's go over first things, or the most important things to start. Materials. So if you can only do one thing, or if you can only invest in one type of material, I will tell you to invest in the GMAT official guide. So the official guide right now, I think if you get it from GMAT, which is the official administrator of the GMAT, they don't have the physical book anymore. So they only have, if you follow this link right here, you will get the ebook version. So if you don't have an issue with ebook, then that's perfect. I think last time I checked, it was $47.99 US. So yes, that's the option. Now, if you're like me and you appreciate having print or working with your hands, so you can flip the pages with your own hands and then work on your notebook alongside with it, then I recommend you go to Amazon. I think they have some of the print versions from the GMAT, like the 2021 version, or you can use some used copies. Again, you can find them online, either on Amazon, or if you know somebody who went to business school and they have some of the material, you can kindly ask them to lend them to you, or so you can buy them secondhand from them. And that is the official guide. So official guide, the edition doesn't really matter. Of course, we recommend the latest version, which is the 2022 edition, or 2023. I think they came out with it. No, just 2022. But if you get the 2021, 2019, I think there's also, it will work just fine. Just make sure that you have one of the official guides so you have enough practice questions, okay? Second thing, so this is number one. Number two, you want the practice exams. Actually, no, let me reverse that. This is number one, and this is number two. Why? Because this one, you have to pay. You have to invest some money, but this one is completely free. So if you have it for free, why not use it, right? So the GMAT, the administrators of the GMAT, they offer 2 completely free practice exams. So you also want to make sure that you download them. So for that, you have to create an account, download them, and then you want to make sure that these are the gold standard for practice, and it's what's going to give you the best idea of how you're performing, because there's a lot of other different practice tests online, some of which are free, some other that are paid for. But the closest thing to the real deal will be the one from GMAT itself. From the organization is GMAC, and then the test is GMAT. So I hope that that's not confusing. So GMAC are the creators of the GMAT, which is a test. Okay, moving on to, so this is what I would say like the required material, and here you have the optional material. So for optional material, I mean anything that will help you study better. So the only issue with studying with ebooks, for example, is that if you have it readily available but you don't see it, if it's not visual in your physical space, you have more chances of forgetting or avoiding it. It just creates more friction by the time you get to actually study. So this is where study prep companies or programs, this is where they come in really handy, because that makes you that means that you're more committed to it, and you will gladly accept somebody to help you through this process. So there are many options out there, of course. I work for Magoosh, so I'm going to recommend you Magoosh. And actually, there's a 20% sale going on right now. If you want to sign up for one of our GMAT options, you can do so by going into this link, gmat.magoosh.com. But of course, I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's completely optional. You're more than welcome to do your own research and look for other options that may fit your needs a little bit better. But this will help you with learning the material, or the topics, I would say. And the other ones, the OG book, OG, and the practice tests, these will help you with practicing the material. So one is for learning, the other one is for practicing. Okay, now that we got the materials out of the way, let's go over to how long should you study versus how long can you study. So here's where I will tell you to practice a little bit of introspection, or just sit down and write down what your goals are. So first of all is your goals. Why do you want to go to business school, right? That's the first thing. And that will be kind of your main, your North Star, your motivation. And then is, where do you want to go? So what B school are you aiming for? Why is this important? Well, it's okay. You can change your mind later on, or when you're in the process, but you want to get a rough idea of the score that you will be aiming for as well. So first you want the business school, because then you can look up, or you can do research on the average GMAT scores that they accept. So this will give you target GMAT score. Okay. And then finally, you have to ask yourself, how confident am I with the material? Or do I need to do a lot of learning, or do I need to do more practicing? So assess your reading level and assess your quantitative reasoning level as well. Are you good at math? Did you always love math? Or is math maybe a topic that was scary to you when you were in elementary, high school, and then undergrad? So think about that, because if math is something that comes super easy to you, then you might not need as much time spending on studying. You will spend most of your time reviewing. But then if you do have to, go back to the foundations, make sure that you're relearning, watching some lessons here and there. Maybe you will need to ask a friend to tutor you for just a little bit, so you get that confidence those first couple of weeks. Of course, that will add time. Then comes the question of, how long can you study for, actually? So what are your responsibilities? Responsibilities. Wow, I can't. There you go. So, do you work full time, or do you have um, spare time? Do you have to take care of a family, right? Do you have people who are dependent on you? Do you have to come home and cook after working? Things like that that are going to be different from other people who might be in the same position as you, that you want to take the GMAT and apply to business school. So consider all the commitments that you already have in your day-to-day life. So you will say sports, I don't know, hobbies, family time. These are all important things that you need to ask yourself. Are you willing to sacrifice the time that you spend on those on a weekly basis? Or are those already set commitments that you need to work your way around? So keep note of that. And that's when we will go to our next consideration. Okay, once you figure out how much time you have each day to prepare, you want to make sure that you are working on a little bit of everything every day. Okay? So perhaps you are very strong in verbal, but then when you start studying, you notice that you don't enjoy the quantitative reasoning section. You're not getting if you're taking a practice practice quiz of 10 questions, and out of those 10 questions you get all of the 10 wrong, and then you get discouraged and you start going back into verbal so you can feel a little bit better about yourself. This is exactly what you don't want to do. You don't want to lean into one topic over the other one just because the other one feels daunting or intimidating. So people who are strong in verbal tend to freak out about quant. And my recommendation is just go straight into quant instead, or straight into math topics. Because this is actually when we work on our weaknesses, we have more chances of improving our score. So make sure that you're not neglecting one section over the other one. And of course, so you will start with your weaknesses. But then also you want to reinforce your strengths. Okay, let me check chat for a second to see if we have any questions. Hi Naveen and hi Yash. Okay, do we have any other questions? No, I think we are good. Oh, okay. Another thing that I forgot to say is that for all of you who are here watching this live stream, if you do choose to sign up for the Magoosh account, you'll get an extra 10% off. Let me see. Is there a code for that? Oh, yes. Just make sure that you use the code YouTube 10 when you are checking out. Okay, just a fun fact over there. But continuing with our regularly scheduled programming. Another important part, remember how I was talking about weaknesses and strengths? First, you need to figure out what those are. And if you've never taken the GMAT before, there's no good way to do that for sure. You won't have the data. You will have kind of like a hunch or speculation, but you want to be sure. You want to be as methodical with this process as possible. So make sure that you take a practice test before you even begin your study schedule. So the practice test should take anywhere between 3.3 hours to 3.5 hours total. It just depends on you on whether you take the breaks or you go straight. I do recommend you to take the breaks, and you want to take the full, oh, I forgot to mention, a full practice exam. And this will act as your diagnostic for diagnostic purposes. So once you get this, you're going to get a score. Don't be discouraged if the score is not what you were expecting, because this is completely normal. We don't start, we all have to start somewhere, right? So once you get the score, use the score to learn about your strengths and weaknesses. Because then once you know the topics, not only do you want to pay attention to strengths in verbal versus quant, but you want to know specifically what topics. If it's quant that you are struggling with, are you struggling with a specific question type? There are quantitative comparison. No, excuse me, that is for GRE. How do I delete this? There's data sufficiency is what I meant to say. Do a little eraser here. Okay, so going back, you have your data sufficiency questions, you have your problem solving questions, right, etc., etc. So take note of the questions that you are getting wrong, the questions that you're getting right, and then also the topic. Oh no. Okay, there you go. I don't know why this is not writing. Topic. So is it algebra? Is it geometry? Is it maybe integer properties? There's many ways. You aren't bad at something completely or great at something. There's always a little bit of gray instead of black and white. So make sure that you take note of that, and then use this information to prioritize the topics or the chapters that you will be looking at every day when you start on week 1, week 2, etc., etc. So important thing is take a practice exam before you even start doing your study schedule. Let me check out the chat. It says, I took, hi Utkarsh. I'm sorry if I am mispronouncing names. I need to practice them a little bit. But you said that you took a practice test on Magoosh and you did 21 over 31 hard quant questions correctly. What's the level of hard questions of Magoosh? Okay, so the difficult part about the going about scoring is that scoring goes on percentiles. So it's not so much of the raw score that you get, because there's an algorithm that the GMAT works with. In case that you don't know how the algorithm works, I can tell you really quick. So the GMAT algorithm basically wants you to get to a point that you are getting 50% of the questions right and 50% of the questions wrong. So you will start with one question. Let's say you start with question 1 right here. And you can get it right or wrong. This will be like a medium level question. And then you might go, if you get it right, then the next question, the second question here, it will be a medium to hard question. And then let's say you get that right, then you move up again. Then your third question will be more of a hard question. But then this one, you didn't do so well. You started guessing, you were in between 2 answer choices, but you guessed the wrong choice. So you went down a little bit. And then your fourth question is going to go back to medium to hard. So this is not exactly how it works, but overall, that is the idea, okay? So you have to, if you were to just take a practice section, right? Practice section, and you're only getting like a hard question, and then a hard question, and then a hard question. That is not how the GMAT works. So I cannot tell you for a fact what level, what score you will be getting on this. Now, when you take practice tests on the Magoosh account, we do have an algorithm that is mimicking the GMAT algorithm. So you will get an estimate that is closer to what you would see, or like it will be a better representation of your performance, but it's only if you take either enough practice questions or you take full practice tests, also known as mock exams. So I'm sorry if I'm not answering your question, if my answer is not what you were expecting, but yes, there's no way for me to tell you. I will be telling you something just out of speculation, and I don't want to give you the wrong idea. Okay, so that question is answered. Let me erase everything and go back to writing. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, so same thing. What are the things that we want to learn? I will divide this into 3 categories. Oh no, excuse me. I'm learning how to use this this setup just because we're using a stream service that's different from Zoom, and that's the one that I'm the most used to. So nope, let me go back. Okay, and then going with the pen. So is it working? Nope. All right. Pretend that here it says things to learn. So you have, first, you want to learn about the test itself. So here's where you want to know how many sections. You want to know the types of questions on each section. You want to know the duration of time for each. What else do you want to know? And I would say you also want to learn about percentiles. So when you start taking practice tests, if you haven't taken them yet, you're going to get a verbal score, you're going to get a quantitative score, you're going to get a writing one. These two will be different, but let's say if you get, I don't know, a 43 in verbal and 43 in quant, this doesn't mean that you're scoring at the same level in verbal and quant, because verbal, this could be I don't have the chart right now, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say that verbal this is like around 80th percentile, and then for quant this will be closer to 50th percentile. So you will be more than average. You'll be about average for quant with this raw score, but you will be well above average in verbal. So instead of looking at just raw scores, you want to know how percentiles work, and then from there, know what score you want to aim at. Also take into consideration your B school and all of that. Okay, then you want to know about the topics, or also known as the content. So here's where you start with your grammar rules. In terms of reading, you want to read about different, or I would say more economics or business oriented articles. Read business jargon, I'd say, just so you get used to the vocabulary that you would see in GMAT questions. And for the quantitative side, this is when you start brushing up on your algebra skills, your arithmetic, so all of your multiplication, division. For algebra, it will be evaluating equations, isolating variables, all of that. And also, I think, there's a lot of different topics. I'm not going to list them all, but you get the idea. So finally, what was the third one? Okay, you get the test, you learn about the test, then you learn the topics. Oh, yes. And finally, you want the test specific strategies. So depending on how on your education journey, you might already be familiar with standardized testing, but standardized tests are not all the same. And what I mean by this is, if you remember taking the SAT and you also consider or took the ACT, you know that they are different, so you had to prepare for them differently, right? The same strategies that apply to the SAT will not apply to the ACT. This same concept translates into the GMAT. Some people prepare for the GRE and then they change their mind, and turns out that instead of the math program, graduate program, or PhD that they wanted to apply to, they changed their mind and now they want to apply to business school. So they go and they take the GMAT, but turns out that because they were preparing for the GRE, the strategies that they learned did not translate well, and they didn't get the same score or the same percentile, right, for the GMAT. One example of this is you don't get a calculator on the GMAT, so you need to really be good at like foundational arithmetic. So you want to know how to add quickly, you want to know how to subtract, how to split numbers in half, etc., etc. And also, you cannot skip questions, which means that you'll have more of an emphasis on pacing and learning what questions to guess and what questions to spend more time on, just so you make sure that you go through all the questions and you don't leave any questions unanswered. Okay, now I think that is everything. No, okay, no. That is things to learn. Now it's time to make time for review. So I want to also include here, because by the end of this lesson, we're going to have, depending on how much time you have, whether you have, let's say you have 1 month to study, right? You're already committed to 1 month, or maybe you are in between jobs and you have 1 month before you start your next position. So you want to use this month of vacation or forced vacation to your advantage. So that translates to 4 weeks. And then you start breaking things down into week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, until test day. Well, you don't want to be doing the same thing that you do here. You don't want to do it when you get to week 4. So if you were to kind of work backwards from test day, let's say that you already registered, so you cannot change the date. Therefore, you know that the week before will be week 4, then week 3, etc. If you split this in half, the first half you want to devote to learning, and then the second half you want to make sure that you are reviewing. So learning, here you're taking classes. Here you are reviewing, not reviewing, but you are relearning topics. You're drilling without using official questions or GMAT-like questions. Like, yes, you should, but not all the questions have to be GMAT. Whoops, GMAT. Why is it not writing? Well, you know that what I'm trying to write there, GMAT-like questions. Okay, that's what I meant to put there. And then the second half of your study plan, here you want to start practicing pacing, incorporating the strategies, and taking practice tests. So, and again, before I would call this week 0, here's where you want to take your diagnostic practice test. Okay, let me check some questions in chat. I'm completing all the medium and easy questions now, only left with some 200 hard questions. Still, it's showing me 45, 47. I want at least 49 plus. I don't know what else to do. Okay. Oh, this is something that I forgot to mention back when I was talking about materials. Let me go back. So remember how I told you the bare minimum is to get the official guide and the practice exams? Again, this bare minimum is if you don't know whether you're going to, excuse me, let me think of a better way to put this. Okay, you want to think of materials in terms of how ambitious you are with the score. So if you want a 90th percentile score and you are currently scoring in the 60s to 70, you're going to need more materials because you're going to be studying for longer and practicing more than somebody who's already scoring in the 85th percentile, right? Because there's a lot less distance from 85 to 90 than from 60 or 70 to 90. So to answer your question, Utkarsh, is you might need to find additional materials. So start looking at more free practice exams, start looking for more questions. So there's a lot of other books, for example, that are not official. They're not this, but they still are good for practice. And then don't run through those. Don't do quantity over quality. You want to make sure that you're being mindful with the amounts of questions that you're answering, because once you run through those, it's going to be hard. The more questions that you answer, the harder it's going to be to find new material, right? Or you're going to need to start spending money. So to avoid that, start using an error log. And there's a lot of videos on YouTube. There's one Magoosh video, there's one Magoosh blog that will tell you more about an error log. But the idea is that you want to avoid making the same mistakes. So instead of worrying so much on how many questions can I do so I can get better, think of the questions that I did, which ones did I do wrong and why? And am I creating bad habits? How do I stop this bad habit from happening again? So that means that you're going to be slower when you're reviewing the questions, but hopefully this will translate to more correct questions down the line. Okay, I hope that this answers your question. Melissa, you asked something else. Excuse me, I'm trying to go back to where we were. Okay, yes. Melissa, you said that you haven't solved a quant problem maybe in a decade. So is it worth it to take a practice test at this level? You felt rather smart remembering things. So maybe it will take longer, but that's your special case. Yes, you're not alone on this, Melissa. And just because you haven't touched a quant problem doesn't mean that you are not good in quant. Okay, it's okay to forget, but things will come back as you start practicing. As with everything, practice makes perfect. So what I've seen some people do is that they avoid the practicing and they just want to go into learning. They want to go into classes and they leave the practice test until maybe a week or the weekend before their actual exam. The reason why we don't want to do this is because strategy is a very important part. So half of your score is what you know, and half of the score is how the GMAT presents it, so you are able to answer and showcase that you do know the concept. So same thing. Don't be scared of taking the practice exam. I will tell you to take it sooner rather than later, and that will give you a better idea of, hey, you know what? I scored better than I thought. So I thought that I wanted to study for 6 months, but now I can lower that down to 3 months instead. Or perhaps you were overly confident. You thought that you only needed 1 month to prepare. And then after that practice exam, you realize, hey, you know what? I should maybe delay or register for a later date just so I give myself enough time to learn and to practice. Okay, but thank you for commenting. Okay, and finally, because now I want to give, yeah, no, we cover everything. So now we can go over the actual structuring of your guys's schedules. So here's what I'm going to do. And let me change. Okay, stop sharing screen. And I'll show my face now. Oops. Can you see me? Hello, everyone. This is me. Now I'm not just a voice in the void. And I stopped screen sharing here, but I can show you. Oh, and let me. There. Okay. So now let me present. Okay, Google Calendar. Not that one. What about this one? Yes, this one. Okay, so here's a calendar. And I'm going to try to replicate a calendar that will be for you. All right. So let's go over who is here. If you are here, send a comment just so I know if you joined very early on that you're still here. So I know, Melissa, you commented very early. I know you're here. Hi, Esther Chihuahua. Nice to meet you. Or actually, let's ask for volunteers. Who would like to have their schedule prepared with my help? If nobody wants to volunteer, then I'll be forced to create a fictional person, or to create a study guide or study plan for myself. Okay. Let me just blur this a little bit so it's not distracting. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, so we have Prince and Mama Marley and Pima or Pema. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing your names. Okay. Because you volunteer, Prince, you volunteer first. I'm going to do yours, but I want to let all the other watchers or viewers, that's just not watchers, viewers, excuse me. If you want me to do your study guide, you have preference or you have priority because you've been here for a long time. Okay, so Prince, you want to take it in 2 months? Awesome. So we are right now in April 6th. So 2 months from now will be May and June. So you want to take it June 6th. Okay, so this is our test day. Or, excuse me, not today. I want to see the week. So this is test day. And we are assuming that we are already registered for this date. Now, what do you do, Prince Kofi? Do you work full time? Do you study full time? Do you work part time? Or how many hours do you have to work, or do you have already set up in your schedule? I know that typing can take a little bit of time. Hi, Mama Marley. Yours is 2 months too, so then this will be a good fit. So we can do this collaboratively. Okay. So Prince works full time, and work maybe 10 hours per week. Oh, excuse me. You work full time, so I'm going to take that as 40 hours per week. And you say that you have about 10 hours per week to study. Okay, I'm going to go more into detail of that because sometimes we overestimate the amounts of hours that we have in the day to study. So then going back to today, Yes, today. You have 40 hours of work. So let's say you start from 8 to what? How much is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. And we have work, and we repeat this. Repeat daily. Actually, no, every weekday. Yes. So this is what our schedule looks like, right? And then you say that you have 10 hours per week to study. If we were to divide that amongst just weekdays, then that means that you're going to have 2 hours per day to study. But realistically, after an 8-hour workday, I doubt that you want to study for 2 hours straight. So let's say that you bring that down to just 1 hour. This would be study. And let's put another, well, this one repeats every weekday. So 1 hour every weekday. Let me see if I can change this color. Let's put it orange. This and following events, all events. All right, so now we have study. That is only, what, 5 days a week? So that's 5 hours. And then we have 5 hours left over for our weekends. So let's say that you work well in the mornings, but you don't want to wake up too early. You kind of want to have a lazy morning. So you can do 2 hours and a half on Saturday. And this repeats also on Sunday. So we do Saturday and Sunday, and you want to do this, what? No, excuse me, no. Let's do it just by this time. And same thing, I want to put it in color. So I see the difference. Oh, excuse me. And this applies to actions. Save, oh, everything. All right. So we have our hours covered. Let me see. Do you have any other comments? Okay. Prince Coffee, have you taken the GMAT already? Or will this be your first time taking it ever and you've never taken a practice test? If not, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that you haven't practiced. You haven't taken a mock exam. So what I want you to do is this first week, you're going to take a practice exam. And it's going to take you about 3 hours and a half. And actually, I'm going to change this. I'm not going to do it this Saturday because this is week 1. Remember that I told you the diagnostic test we want to take on week 0. So this is kind of like week 0. And instead of Saturday the 15th, you want to take it this next Saturday that's taking place this weekend. So saving that. So I guess this will be our working week. This is week 1, week 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. So these study sessions, they don't really count. Okay, so we start with our diagnostic test. This will take 3.5 hours. I don't think that you want to review that same day. So then Sunday will be reviewing the diagnostic practice test. So again, this is in pink. We'll do pink. Do you have any questions? All right. So now we have a good start. We already know what days we're working. We know we're working every day. And this is our study schedule. So what you would do then, and I cannot do this for everyone because everyone will be different, is depending on your grade or your score, excuse me, for your practice test, after Sunday, you will have reviewed it. And this time you should know already, okay, the score that you're at versus the score that you are aiming for. You're going to know the types of questions that you're struggling with, the types of other things that might be undermining your scores, such as pacing, or if there's specific topics that you're not confident in or that you completely forgot. So you want to take note of those here in your review. And then you already know the times that you're going to study, but then you're going to fill out all of these spaces with specifically what you're going to study. So the first week, you're going to learn or do research. Okay, I can't type for my life. Research the GMAT structure. Okay, that's what I would do the first day. Then day 2, this is when you would spend time deciding, okay, do I want to, what's my weakest section? Is it quant or is it verbal? So then you're going to prioritize starting with those lessons. So if quant is your weakness, then you're going to start watching foundational quant lessons. And then this is not strat, this is start. And then I would go even a step further, and I would say what class specifically, X class. Or if you're following the official guide, then you can split this into chapters. So then you can say, I'm going to read half of chapter, let's say chapter 3, or let me see, I think I have math review is chapter 3, exactly. Chapter 3, which is math review. Here's where you go over your arithmetic, your integer properties, and things like that. So then remember that you want to make sure that you also, while you're working on your weaknesses, you don't want to neglect your strengths. So if verbal was your strength, then you start by doing a verbal review. Okay, same thing, whether it's a lesson that you're watching or you're doing practice or drills. You want to be specific about what it is that you're doing that day. Okay? And so week 1, how can I okay, so this is just a note for everyone. So if this is week 1, we're doing focus on learning. And then you have week 2, 3, 4. We're doing a 2-month plan in this case. So by the time you get to the second month, you want to, this is week 4, then focus on practicing, like test taking strategies. Now that you get to this point, these weekends, so here you want to start taking full practice exams as well. So if you only have 2 hours and a half, then you have to find a way to either make Saturdays longer or not study Saturdays and then study like 5 hours on Sundays so that you give yourself time to do the practice exam and then do the review. So you will do a practice test this weekend. Practice test, let's call it the second one because the first one was your diagnostic. And then the next week you will do not this one, but then the other one after. You want to do a third practice test, so practice test 3. Then the week before, test day, because test day will be, oh, did I count the weeks wrong? Yes, I did. I missed one week. But yes. So the weekend before, not this one, but the one right before, you want to take a final practice test before the actual GMAT. Woo. And then devote all of this time to just strengthening, taking the questions that you get wrong here and making sure that you're learning from those mistakes leading up to the exam here. So this day, the day before, you want to relax, not do anything. Because also you need to make sure that your brain is relaxed, that you don't have stress. What is it called? Not stress hormones. Stress hormones? Yes, stress hormones, like cortisol, because they will trigger your fight or flight when you are in the actual test. So you want to make sure that you eat well, that you sleep enough, so that way the day of the exam you are in your best shape possible. And blue, I like blue as a relaxing day. Do. So ideally you wouldn't want to take the test on a work day, right? But you get my idea. And that is your study plan. Of course, you will tweak things here and there, but because we weren't getting, this will be easier if I could hear you, and then you can give me live feedback as I'm doing your schedule. But this gives you a rough estimate of what you should see in your calendar. So you already set up what you're going to study, the things that you're going to study, give yourself so many questions to do per session. I recommend anywhere between 20 to 40 questions per session. And so you have enough time to do questions and then do reviewing or doing lessons. Okay, and that is it for Prince. Does anybody else, or Prince or Mama Marley, do you have questions or doubts or something that you would disagree with this calendar that could facilitate or clarify or make better for you? No questions. Does anybody else need help creating their GMAT schedule? Do we have another volunteer? Pima, you mentioned that you wanted help. Are you still here? Hi, Erica, or being Erica Kane. Is there a screen grab of this calendar available? No, but um, we have templates for other study schedules, specifically in Magoosh. Let me look up the blog and I can send you that. So that will not be personalized, but if you want something to follow, this is a good way to start. But I do encourage you to take the time to sit down, if you make your schedule more personalized, there's more chances that you will stick to it. Okay, and you will find less, what's the word I'm looking, you'll find less excuses or find less reasons for you to skip one day. For example, if you had a very busy day at work, then you can say, oh, I don't think I have the mental energy to stick to studying for 2 hours, because that is what the Magoosh pre-made study plan is saying, right? Or study schedule. But if you know already the times of the day that you work best at, I recommend, I didn't mention this before, but I recommend actually waking up earlier and starting before your workday, so you are super clear, you're super fresh, you're not tired, you feel well rested, because that's the best time of the day, or the best excuse me, I'm blanking on my words, but your brain is primed for learning. and for reviewing things and for doing things that would be hard to get yourself to get motivated to do, right? So if you can incorporate this study schedule in like as early as possible, that I tend to see that people react better to. Another option is some people come to me and they say, I am a working professional and I cannot do anything after the workday, or my time is too limited. I also have a family. I have a commute to do, right? That is kind of what I was hoping to do today, but I realized that maybe live stream or chat is not the best way. But in the future, maybe I can do something like that. So let's say that this person is more limited with their time. So let me change this and make it more realistic to, I don't know, somebody who works 9 to 5 or 8:30 to 5. So this is work. Okay, and then I move this earlier because this was just a note for myself. And let's say that they only have 1 hour for lunch, and then they have 1 hour commute to and from work. And what else do they have? And they also have to cook, or they have to do extra chores at the house. And then next thing you know, it's already 8 p.m. You want to spend quality time with your family. And because you wake up really early to get to your commute, you're 7:30, right? Because here you're getting ready. You have, I don't know how long it takes everyone to get ready, but I would say anywhere between 30 to 1 hour getting ready for work. I should have made this all for, okay. And this is happening every single workday. So this repeats weekly, every weekday, repeats every weekday. Because we need to be as realistic as possible, right? If we start being overly ambitious, then we're going to do great the first week. And then the second week, we start getting a little burnt out. And then the third week, you tell yourself, well, I've been working a lot. I deserve a break. And then you start missing one day here, or you stop doing your weekend sessions. So this is why I also am a very huge advocate of doing a little bit every day. So if you don't have 2 hours plus to study every day, I'm not judging you. That is fine. That is realistic, but you still want to work on your goals. So first commit and say you're doing this for yourself. And if this is the not the bare minimum, but this is absolutely everything that you have to do. Like you can't negotiate getting ready to work. You can't negotiate your commute. You can't negotiate work, of course. This is your livelihood. You can't negotiate lunch or dinner, and you can't negotiate family time and taking care of the house, much less your sleeping time, your recovering, right? Your basic needs. So depending on, this is where you start looking at your specific schedule. So do you like podcasts? Is your commute one that you have to drive or one that you have to take public transportation? If the commute is public transportation, then I will use this commute as study time. Now, of course, you don't have to do the whole commute as study time, but at least 30 minutes here is 30 minutes that you're putting every day, right? So I will change this to the orange color that we put for study time. So, okay, here we're adding 30 to 1 hour, right? 30 minutes to 1 hour. Then in lunch, if the lunch is already made Or if you are getting your DoorDash, right? Or you picked it up, you coming back to the office, then you can do, again, 30 minutes of review here as well. Just one session of 10 to 20 questions, right? And 3-minute study. And this does repeat every weekday. You want this only to be 30 minutes. And how do I change the color? Again, orange. Okay. And then same thing, you can add more to your commute. So study in your commute, 30 minutes. There's a lot of apps as well. So there's one app, we have the Magoosh app where we have flashcards, but there's also other apps, or you can start creating Quizlet cards for yourself. Or some of the lessons in Magoosh, they are less than 10 minutes, so you can get through maybe 4 lessons during your commute. So what I'm trying to get at here is that you need to start getting creative as to how you can incorporate all of these sessions with the life that you already have. Because if you make it inconvenient for yourself, there's less chances for you sticking to it. And if you are very protective of your weekends, let's say maybe you don't do 2 hours, but you do 1 hour, right? And the only thing that I will ask you to start sacrificing is 1 weekend every 3 to 4 weeks, so you can start scheduling your practice exams. So if you already have this practice exam scheduled, then you can let your family know, or you can ask somebody to take care of the kids. You can ask for and like to hire a nanny, things like that. So I hope that this gives you a better idea of how you can start incorporating study sessions. Then at the end, maybe before you go to sleep, you can also do like 30 to 45 minutes of reviewing. So here you want to do light review because it's already the end of the day. And you can be trying to put in more new information, but you want to reinforce the information that you already saw earlier in the day or from the week prior. And same thing, this repeats every weekday. All right. And then this gives you a solid, what is it? Let's say you have 30 minutes here. So 30, that's 1 hour. 30, that's 2 hours per day. So 10 hours plus 1, 2, that's 12 hours per week. So this is a lot better than saying that you're going to study 2 hours every weekday, but then the first week you start strong, then the second week those 5 days go down to 2, and then the third week you already gave up because it's not feasible, it's not sustainable for you. So if it means studying less hours per day or scattering the sessions, breaking them down into smaller 30-minute sessions, if that's more doable for you, then that's better because you're staying consistent. Consistency is better than burnout. Okay, let's see some of the questions. Sanket said that you work full-time Monday to Friday. You have 1 hour and a half free in the morning and 1 hour and a half free at night. Okay, that is awesome. Then you don't have to touch your lunch hour. You just do your half hour and a half at the beginning, then after, at the end of the day, and that's 3 hours per day, which is amazing. Then that way you can maybe get back 1 day of your weekend. Instead of studying Sunday, you get rid of it altogether, because then you are making up that hour with the extra hour that you're getting on a weekday. Then there's a question, please, any tips on staying focused during studies and avoiding distractions? Okay, so this one is hard because you need to know what your distractions are. First of all, is your environment. So if you are trying to get study done at home with kids who are asking you, hey, mom, or hey, dad, I need help with this homework, or I'm hungry, or things like that. That's going to be a distraction that you cannot put away, right? So what I will tell you is, if you have a situation like that, is notice the times that you have the most time for yourself, or that you're alone, or that you can maybe go to a specific area of the house that tends to be calmer. Maybe that's a room upstairs, or a basement, or outside in your yard, or just in your room before everyone wakes up. Just somewhere that you know that people will not come in and distract you. So take note of those times, and then schedule. Try to find a way to make the schedule time for that time of the day. Then, second of all, get rid of your phone. So either you get rid of your phone, or you start using some of these apps that work for focusing. So, for example, this app, this is a Flora app, and it uses the Pomodoro technique. Oh, this is not working, but I'll put it in the chat. Flora app, and it's completely free, and it allows you to set up ways a timer, and you select whether it's 5 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, but the most common one is 25 minutes of work with 5 minutes of break, and that will lock your phone in a way so if you use it and you get out of the app, then it tells you, hey, you're going to kill your tree, because the idea is that it's planting a seed, and then you want to work through the time that the seed is growing, so that at the end you have a flower or you get a tree. And then when you get out of the app, it kills the tree, and it makes you feel bad psychologically. So it works for me. But find something that works for you. It doesn't have to be Flora. There's another one that's called Forest, and it only has trees as well. But yes, just make a way, like just putting your phone in a drawer. If you don't see it, out of sight, out of mind, that is the best way to avoid getting distracted by messages, by emails, by the New York Times notification. Just make sure that you have just the work in front of you. And same thing with maybe headphones, music that helps you focus. I know that there are not there are some live streams, and there's also just videos, pre-recorded videos that are 3 hours long on YouTube, that are called focus music, and those help a lot. So yes, hope that gives you at least something to work with. Melissa says this was really helpful. Yes, that is my goal. As long as you can take at least one thing that you can incorporate and it makes your process easier, I feel like I did my job right. You really appreciate it. You're starting your own calendar, and thank you for letting me know that. Well, it's already 1 hour and 14. I had promised you that this would be less than an hour, but I wanted to make sure that I'm answering all of your questions. Again, if you joined us late and you didn't see the beginning, this will be recorded, and you can come back to the video at any time, any day, and this information is for you. And I hope that it helps you. If maybe it doesn't help you, but you know that someone is thinking of studying for the GMAT, or they've told you that they're looking into business school but they're not really sure, send them this video. Show them that it's possible to work little by little towards your goals, and that you don't have to be on this journey alone either. As you can see in the chat, there's lots of people in the same boat as we are. So what we want to do is be collaborative, learn from each other, and just work towards our goals. And that is my little motivational speech. If there are no more questions, then I'm going to end the live stream, and I will see you on the next one, or on the next video. Thank you for joining, and have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.